All right, I think this is part 3 of personal protection. So we're going into exposure and monitoring, or ways to measure exposure. There are some equipment devices that ensure proper radiation output from X-ray machines. So like this small one up here, it's giving you a reading of the exposure. There's environmental survey devices that monitor radioactive contamination or transmission into occupied areas. So, if that were to happen, or a hazardous material type situation. And then personal dosimetry is going to track radiation dose to occupational workers, so that's us. The occupational workers that may exceed 10% of the annual limit must wear a dosimeter. Ionization chambers are dosimetry devices used to measure the output of X-ray tubes. They function as a photo timer in the automatic exposure control and in nuclear medicine as dose calibrators. The Geiger counter is an immediate environment reading. It's most commonly used to detect contamination. And then a pocket dosimeter is an immediate personal reading. Two types here, these are from RadTech Bootcamp as well. The scintillation detectors. We know what a scintillator is if you've done your DR course. The scintillators work by converting X-ray energy into visible light. It's a material that exhibits scintillation, has the property of luminescence when excited by ionizing radiation. And then the semiconductor is when X-ray photons are converted to electron hole pairs in the semiconductor and then are collected to detect the X-rays. All right, dose and monitoring. So here's a good one for us as technologists. The NCRP 116 has outlined dosages that I can get for my whole body for the year, and then my eyes, and then everything else. There's settings for you as a student technologist, and then as a pregnant technologist, and then the public. So for me as a technologist, I can have an annual whole body dose of 50 millisieverts. It doesn't depend on my age. It's just whole body dose, 50 millisieverts, okay? The lens of my eye can get 150 millisieverts, and everything else, so your thyroid, your skin, your hands, your feet, can get up to 500 millisieverts. These should be a flashcard. These are numbers that you can memorize fairly easily. There's a lot of fives involved in this one, if that makes it easier for you, okay? The cumulative, so my lifetime dose as a technologist, cannot exceed 10 millisieverts times my age. So my lifetime, I would multiply, my age is 38 times 10 millisieverts, and that would give me my cumulative lifetime. So annual is for 1 year, I can get 50. For cumulative for my lifetime, I need to stay under 38 times 10. Okay. They also specify certain limitations for the population. So your general public, they're going to split it into infrequent exposures and someone who gets frequent exposures. And most of the time, the question's about infrequent exposures. Okay. Your general population, if you can remember, it's 10% of what a technologist would get a year. So they can get 5 millisieverts. So just make sure you know that it's 5 or 10%, because it could be asked either way. Okay? And that's on a patient, or that's on a general public who gets infrequent exposures. If it's someone who's getting exposures all the time, it's actually down to 1. Right? Embryo and fetus. So as a pregnant technologist, I had to wear 2 dosimeters, and one was up here by the collar and one was down by my waist for the baby. The embryo and fetus can get a total of 5 millisieverts for the entire time. Per month is 0.5. I know this is always confusing for students, but pregnancy is actually 10 months for those of us who wait the 10 months. Some babies come out at 9 months, yes, but so 0.5 times 10. 5, okay. And then student radiographer, which is you guys who are training, it's 1 millisievert, and this is something I want you to memorize. This most likely is going to be asked on the boards. So watch for those. There's a lot of 5s that you'll see. So 50, 150, 500. General public is 10 or 5. Fetus is 0.5 per month, 5 total. And then you guys as students, you're number 1. The dosimeters that you wear are the radiation monitor. It's supposed to be at the collar, outside the apron. Don't put it under your apron. It's not going to read. The position should remain constant for the day. Make sure you wear it facing out correctly so it gets the correct reading. Don't wear it backwards. Pregnant technologist is going to wear their second dosimeter. That fetal dosimeter is going to be under the lead apron. So the fetal goes under. Types. Film type, pretty self-explanatory. It contains film. It's fairly cheap, and it does provide a permanent record. The TLD, the thermoluminescent dosimeter, contains lithium fluoride. It's heated, so remember therm was heat. Heated and releases light. It's more expensive, and there's no permanent record, which is not ideal. But remember, lithium fluoride, heat, light. Okay. The pocket dosimeter over here gives you an immediate reading. There is, however, no permanent record of dose. And then the OSLD, which most of you probably wear, is the optically stimulated luminescence dosimeter. Aluminum oxide, so if you can remember optical oxide, it's exposed to a laser and emits visible light, and it offers permanent record. So the OSLD has aluminum oxide. It uses a laser, emits light, and it offers a permanent record of dose. Dosimetry reports. So you've probably seen your dosimetry report as a student, or you signed off on it. It has to be reviewed by a physicist and then reviewed by staff quarterly. Letter M means minimal dose to even report, so below 1 millirem. Dose is most often listed in millirem. I know this one that I chose, the picture of it says millisieverts, but most of them are still in millirem, so I don't want you to worry about your numbers. If you are supposed to get 1 millisievert a year, that's actually worth 100 millirem, is how it's converted. So me as a technologist, I can get 50 yearly on my dose report. If it's in millirem, that would be that, okay? So don't worry about that. There is a YouTube video on it that I put into your Blackboard. If you want to watch that, it breaks down how to read this dose report. But what do I want you to know? M equals minimal dose to even report. Okay, keep that in mind. The record of it, so the record of the dose, occupational exposure records, should be kept for a lifetime. So whatever company you're using, Landauer, Radcare, whatever it is, that has to be kept for a lifetime. Your facility has to keep the records at least 3 years on site. And then if you change jobs, you need to transfer records, because they should be able to continue on the counting of your previous record, because you want an accurate dosage at the end of your career.